Hi, my name is Yelena. I'm a strategy manager here at Nomad Capitalist. And I want to speak about a bit of different topic than we usually do on our YouTube channel, which are different programs and how they work. This time I want to speak about our process of the plan creation, how many details do we actually go into when we're creating the plan, and some other details that you might not even think about right now. So we here at Strategy are in charge of helping you create your plan. And one of the first things that we really try to dig into when you come to us is what are the 3 goals that you would like to achieve when going through this plan creation process. Now, this can be a variety of things. It doesn't have to be just tax or lifestyle. But it is very important to basically put them in order of what is most important to you. For some people, that might be tax. For some people, that might be a lifestyle. For some people, that might be generational wealth for their kids. So it all just depends from you personally and what are your goals, not what anybody else is actually doing. And why we say this is very important to take into consideration is, for example, if your primary goal is to save on taxes, you probably will not have anything against moving to another country that you never heard of, and you will be maybe okay with staying there. But if lifestyle is also a big part of your plan and your priority, then you probably would not like to go and live somewhere where you don't like, a place that you don't like, where you don't want to be, where you don't see yourself just for tax purposes. So this is why one of the first things to basically put in order is whether tax is more important or whether lifestyle is more important, or if it's neither of those two, what is it that is most important to you and is the #1 goal that you would like to achieve with us. Part of the reason that we say that this is a holistic plan is that we really have to take into consideration the full picture. We cannot, most often we cannot focus on only one thing. So you cannot focus only on tax residence, for example. You have to take into consideration other pieces of the puzzle to make a complete puzzle. So when you're thinking about your plan, think about it this way. Those are all pieces of the puzzle that you have to bring together, and you have to bring them together so in a way that they actually fit and they work together. And without one piece of the puzzle, that puzzle will not be complete. So if you're somebody who's looking into moving away from, let's say, Canada, you want to become a tax non-resident in Canada, not pay taxes to Canada anymore, and you want to establish an offshore structure, an offshore business, anywhere else that where it's favorable tax regime, let's say in a tax haven or another jurisdiction that is tax favorable, you also have to take into consideration where you will be personally. So where's your tax residence going to be? And from that point on, you can decide where your company is going to be. So it's very incomplete to say that you want your company to be based in Portugal, for example, because largely where your company will be will depend on where you are personally. So that's why what I mean when I say pieces of the puzzle. So in this case, 3 things have to function. So non-residency, tax residency, company structure. So it's not as easy as setting up something somewhere and you're done. So that's why we're here at Nomad Capitalist. We really go through the process and we really ask a lot of different questions that will help us determine what is going to be the best plan for you. So some of the things that a lot of people don't think about when they're creating their plan are some simple things like, let's say, pets or dating, or let's say customers, where are they located, payment processing, employees or contractors. So those are all, when you're thinking about the grand scheme of things, those are like secondary things. The primary thing is for you to get somewhere else, go somewhere else, get another passport, get another residence, have another company structure, and you just generally don't think about small things like this, and those are some things that you feel like may come in place later on. But really, what you really need to be doing is think about those things in advance. So let's say you find a place that you really like, you want to spend your time there, and it's tax favorable as well, so it works from both lifestyle and tax perspective, but it's not dog friendly. And you have a dog or 2 or 3 that you really love, you want them to come with you, but that place does not fit your needs because your dog cannot come with you, for example. So, or the country is not as dog friendly. So while it may kind of check 2 of your boxes, maybe the 3rd one, and that is, let's say you're not able to bring your pet with you, will be a deal breaker for you, and in the long term, you will be you will not be as happy in that place. So even if it's a smaller thing like that, you really need to take into consideration. Another thing is dating. For example, if you're single and you want to move offshore, but you also want to be able to find a partner somewhere, obviously that's going to be an important part of your lifestyle section. So you will also have to take into consideration where you will be able to date freely as a foreigner, where you will be able to find like-minded people, or where you'll be able to actually find a partner in life, basically. So that is another thing that we really take into consideration here at Nomad Capitalist. What are your kind of personal preferences? So lifestyle is not all about good weather and climate. It's also about smaller things like, is there Amazon, for example? Is my pet able to come with me? Is there a pool for dating? Are they open to foreigners? Do they know English? So a lot of different things come into play when we're talking about lifestyle in particular. So another thing that people often don't think about are time zones. So if you're a business person who runs a business and you have employees or contractors in different parts of the world or in one part of the world, time zone will probably be important to you. Or on the other side, if you're an investor and you deal with the stock market, time zone is going to be important to you unless you're a night owl and you really don't care about time, or you're willing to stay up until 4 a.m. to trade on a stock market. Time zone will probably be important to you. So in that situation, part of your lifestyle package is going to be that time zone, and being in a certain time zone that fits your business needs and what you actually need to do in a working day. So that means that maybe if you're from the United States or Canada, maybe you don't want to move very far away from US or Canada for that purpose. So maybe Asia will not work for you. So that is also one thing that we really, really need to take into consideration when it comes to kind of the full picture of lifestyle. On the other side, when it comes to taxation, if taxation is your primary goal, there are also often a lot of things to think about there when we are determining how tax efficient your structure will be. And one of the most common things that people often forget about are business partners. So if you want to move offshore and save on taxes, both personal and corporate, but you also have a business partner, you will really need to pay attention where that business partner is located, what percentage of the company does that person own, what are the rules in the country where that person is located when it comes to controlled foreign corporation rules or permanent establishment rules. So in most cases, if you have a business partner, it's not going to be as simple as you move away from your home country to a tax favorable jurisdiction. You move your entity in a tax favorable jurisdiction, that's it. That business partner being cooperative is also going to be very important for your plan. So that's why it's more difficult to plan where there are more people involved who are not necessarily your immediate family. On the other side, what you also need to pay attention to is something that people are not probably even aware of, and those are blacklisted jurisdictions. So when you're thinking about high tax countries that have certain exemptions, like European countries like Spain, Italy, Portugal, which is the most famous one, you often don't think about blacklisted jurisdiction, nor do you think about where you can incorporate your company. You simply want to find the jurisdiction that works. So what is often missed is that these European countries have a long list of blacklisted jurisdictions. So that means that if you have a company in, let's say, BVI and you live in Spain, Spain will probably tax that BVI company on a much higher tax rate than it would if it was a Spanish company. So at that point, it really doesn't make sense for you to have an offshore company, because where you're living in Europe, that European country will tax it at a much higher level than it would if you had a local company. So again, you need to really take into consideration where you're going to be personally, and then make a determination where your company will be. It's similar with the business partner that I mentioned before. If your business partner is living in Europe and you're living in, let's say, a tax favorable country in Asia, and your company is located in a tax haven, again, it might be an issue because your partner is living in Europe. So really, really, you need to take into consideration all these small details, including where's the partner living, what percentage is he holding? Because if he's a minority shareholder, it might not be an issue. But if he's a majority or he owns half of it, then it probably we need to take a closer look at it. A couple of other small things that we are really looking into when we're creating your plan are also employees or contractors. Where are they located? And it often is the case, it's something that I heard during the years multiple times, oh, they're just contractors. And then when I hear their conditions, in which conditions they actually work, like they work 40 hours a week, they have strict holidays, they have to ask for time off, those are not contractors, those are employees. And you can call them contractors, or you can even put them on a contractor agreement, but essentially the law in most countries will see them as employees. And that can create issues for your company. So if you have some, let's say, quote unquote, contractors in the United States or Canada or any other high tax country, and you want to move away from that country, establish yourself overseas, and you've done all of that. And let's say you establish yourself in a tax haven, your company is a tax friendly jurisdiction, and your taxes are optimized. And then you have, let's say, at least one person in the United States. That person, depending on what the person is doing, can be an issue for your company. And it can create something that's called effectively connected income to the United States and make part of your company or entire company taxable in the United States. That is a small piece of the puzzle that a lot of people don't really think about, but it's very important because it can sometimes be make it or break it for your company. So in this case, if you have contractors, first of all, we would need to see whether they're actually contractors. If they are, that can be fine, depending on the situation. If they're not, if they're deemed employees, then we recommend you a couple of other options that can help you reduce the risk for your offshore company. Likewise, one of the things additionally that kind of comes into play a bit later on is payment processing. And that can also be quite an issue if not established properly in the beginning. So if you're usually dealing with Western customers like US, Canadian, European, that are usually used to paying to kind of a familiar entity, and you now decide that you want to move and establish your company in, let's say, Labuan, they probably will not be happy with paying to a Labuan company. They want to pay to a very kind of, let's say, a familiar jurisdiction that is familiar to them. And that usually means a more famous jurisdiction. Let's say they feel, you probably know if you have US customers, that US customers feel most comfortable to pay to US entities. And other jurisdictions as well, other countries, other nationalities, if they see that a company is from the United States, they usually don't have problems with it. They will be like, okay, this is a US company, this sounds legit. But if you put, let's say, a Labuan or Malta company on the invoice, that might kind of raise some eyebrows. So you really want to think about that as well before you set up your entity. And this is one of the things that we ask during our process is, how are you processing payments right now? Where are your customers located? What do they feel most comfortable with? Because here again, you have to think about your business as a whole entity and think about also what do your customers want from you? Because you may lose some customers if they have to all of a sudden pay to another foreign entity that in a jurisdiction that they have never been in or they never heard of. So that might, again, raise some red flags with the customers. So you really want to identify what do they feel comfortable with and what are the payment processors that you usually use. So these are all just some of nooks and crannies and kind of nuggets of what do we actually go through when we're creating your plan. Obviously, there's a lot more things that we take into consideration. And before you actually start going on this journey, it's very important from our standpoint of view to actually analyze all the small nitty-gritty details in order to make the best structure and the best plan for you and not to have problems in the future. So yeah, these are just small snippets of what we're actually doing here at Nomad Capitalist. On behalf of the whole team, I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.